Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, sports business majors or sports management majors. I am Professor George Bayer at Namseoul University. I'm so happy to talk to you again, to see you again in my class. I know your major so well, one of my favorite majors at Namseoul University. I love you guys. Anyways, here we are in sports management English class. I was very happy to get this class. I've never taught this class before, but I have taught your major before, so it's really a treat for me. I hope that you look forward to it as much as I do. Again, sports management English class. So we're going to be talking about all things related to sports, management, and English, a three-part course. Nike, you're all familiar with Nike, the famous American tennis shoe and sportswear group. Next, Manchester United. I know this is one of the most famous football clubs in Korea because of Park Ji-sung, one of the most famous Korean soccer players, one of the most famous soccer players in the world. And there I got ESPN. You probably know it, well-known American sports broadcasting network and media information service. Right here on the cover of this, as you can see, I got a sportswear company, a sports broadcast company, and a actual sports team. I think these cover the three main parts of sports business that are sports associations, merchandising, and media. Now I know sports business is a really wide kind of topic, but I think that these cover the main things that we're going to talk about in this class, the main places, the main sort of outlets for you guys, for people who are studying your major, right? Okay, so here we go. Let's begin. Okay, about me. First of all, my name is George Bayer. If you don't already know that, I am George Bayer. You can call me Mr. Bayer or Professor Bayer, or you can call me Choji or Choji Gyosu. However, I think since this is an English class, we want to go by the more formal sort of English way of addressing a professor or addressing somebody that you know. So again, my first name, or we say in English, my song, I'm sorry, my i름, my first name is George, right? That's my personal name. We say in English, my personal name or my first name is the opposite of how you say it in Korean, but in English it's called my first name or my personal name. My family name is Bayer, that is my song, right? That is the name of my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather before me. And we usually don't address people with only this. We'll use a kind of marker like Mr. Bayer, right? Or Professor Bayer, these kind of titles before our last name. So I'm okay if you call me Mr. Bayer or George or Professor Bayer. Just don't use the wrong thing like Mr. Professor or Professor George or something like this, because it's not really correct English. I'm okay. I respond to everything, but it's not really a correct form of English, right? Okay, next, here we go. So here, if you don't know what I look like, there's a picture of me in a suit looking very handsome, right? So handsome guy, wow. I'm just joking. But I don't always look like that, but I promise I never used Photoshop. Next, here is me wearing my mask. I'm being very responsible to the community, but I'm pretty tired of wearing a mask and it's so cold and wet and rainy outside while we record this. It makes me kind of unhappy, to tell you the truth. But you can see my cool leather jacket there. Here I am in front of the Han River in Da Nang, Vietnam. Yes, Vietnam also has a river called the Han River, and I'm there on vacation mode. I'm feeling very happy and full of energy. Have you guys ever been to Da Nang? I'm sure many of you have. There's so many Korean tourists and Korean businesses in Da Nang, Vietnam. Is a pretty hot spot for many tourists, especially Koreans. And finally, here is me being oh so very cute with my iPhone phone photo app. Yes, yes. Again, I don't always look like that. It cleans me up a little bit, but you get some basic idea of who I am, what I do, what I look like. I know many of you already know me though. Okay, so moving on. Ah, what is that? Where is that? You guys know that? That building? What's the name of that building? That's right, it's the Sangyang-hak관. Well, many of our classes are probably going to be here at Sangyang-hak관. That's true. And many of you are familiar with it. Most of our Cheonan classes are there, or at least a lot of the Cheonan English classes are there. And if you've had me, there's a good chance I taught you in this building, which is very convenient because you need to know how to contact me. Yes. Well, my email is Jorge.Namseoul@gmail.com, or you can contact me on the eClass portal at NSU. You can also visit me at my office on Tuesdays from 1 to 4 p.m., Wednesdays from 4 to 5 p.m., Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. However, I don't know how this schedule is going to be yet. I'm probably going to have some more office hours, and I have a club that I like my students to come to, but I don't know the precise times yet. I promise that I will tell you as soon as possible about when my other office hours are. But for right now, we can do this. Maybe a lot of you aren't going to be here this semester because, well, the virus is really weighing us down and causing a lot of problems for us. So I don't expect a lot of you will be able to come. I hope that we start having classes again in 2 weeks, but we are not sure about that yet. So we shall see. We shall see, right? Okay. So please come to visit me in my office, Sangyang-hak관 room 104, or send me an email, send me a message. I'll do my best to send a message back within 24 hours and hopefully within 12 hours. Okie dokie? Okay. So the big thing, COVID-19, the corona, 신종 coronavirus, and our class. I don't know if you can make out that background, but it's a bunch of people wearing masks. Hopefully you're one of the people who can still get masks in Korea. Okay, Namseoul University and the Ministry of Education, that's the National Gyeokbu, have ruled that we need to have online classes for this semester. So I do not really like online classes. I think it's not a very good way to learn, especially it's not a good way to learn English. And many of you have a difficult time to access these classes, but this is necessary for the time being to protect the health of people in this country. So I want to remind you, please take care of your health. Wash your hands many, many times with soap. Sleep 8 hours. A lot of you, I know sports business loves to drink. Please keep the drinking to just 1 day a week from now on because you need to keep your immune system strong. If you don't sleep, your body will easily catch the virus. Drink a lot of water. Soju is not water. Coffee is not water. Drink straight water, many, many liters per day, and you will keep your system flushed of the virus. Eat fruits and vegetables. I know people like junk foods and meat, but fruit and vegetable is the best food you can eat to build your immune system. 5 or 6 fruits and vegetables per day will keep the doctor away. Please, please, please take care of your health. I want you to come in here very, very healthy in 2 weeks and see your smiling faces and not hear right? So please take care. I know you know all of these things, but I just want to remind you about it. And remember to check the e-class portal. Hopefully this is only temporary. It may be for the whole semester, but for now it's just for 2 weeks. Okay, so those of you who know me, you know how I teach already. I have my own way of teaching. I like to practice communicative teaching. Communicative teaching, 소통적 학습, right? This is where you sort of force communication with the students by engaging some activities or conversation. Because we learn through communication, right? We learn by talking to each other. We can learn a little bit by reading and by listening, but mostly we can learn by negotiating the meaning of sentences from learning from other people. We learn from people who are a little bit better than us in English. We learn from people who are a lot better than us in English. And we can learn sometimes from people who are not as good at us in English. So it's very important communication. Those of you who studied English a lot, I think that you already know this, right? You already know it. And we learn when we face new challenges. Well, doing online teaching is a bit of a challenge for me, so I can tell you that I've definitely learned a lot from online teaching. So just like you, I'm always learning something new. So please be generous with me. I'm trying my best here. However, 사실 계획에 변경이 있었다. As you know, there's been a change of plans due to COVID-19 in the e-class format. There will be lectures, 강연 from now on. We will not do that much communication teaching. We don't have any choice about that particular issue right now. This is what we have to do, right? This is just what we have to do. So please keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind. Is this useful? What do you think? What do you think? Is it useful for you? Is it helpful to you? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about that. But what we can do is we can always try our best. Complaining doesn't help anything. It's just what we have to do. I'm going to try my best to always get back to you guys and make things as clear as possible. Please, if you send an email, just give it time. I'm going to try my best to get back to you. Everything that you do, remember my email, Jorge.Namseoul@gmail.com. That's the quickest way to get a hold of me. Or please come to my office. All I ask from you is please, please, I know the lectures are boring and you might not think that they're very helpful, but please don't be like this person. They're so tired and sleepy. I know it's not engaging and it's not fun sometimes and you just want to go to sleep while you're listening to this, but it's important that you get all of the information. And keep a notebook with you, note and pencil, so that you can take notes about important information. So that you can take notes about important information, right? Okay, so so why are we here? What are your goals for this class? What do you want to do with your life? Maybe you want to learn how to speak English well. That's a goal for many people. They just want to learn how to speak English because they want to be able to talk to people. They want to be able to read things in English. So much of the world's information is in English. So I know many students are interested in English, just English for this reason. right? As you can see here, Park Ji-sung was a person who became good in English because he had to work with Manchester United, right? This was a great benefit to him, and for many other Korean sports stars, entertainers, business people around the world, English was a big benefit from them. Maybe because you want to make money, right? You want to learn English so that you can make money. You want to be like this cool, handsome guy in front of his Bentley talking on his phone. You just want to make money. You want to be successful. And you already know that learning languages, and especially learning English, can be pretty useful about about making money, right? About making a living. And maybe you just want to understand the sports culture better, right? Sports culture is big in the world, and I think the United States, especially in England with football and rugby, have some pretty big sports culture. It's even bigger than Korea's sports culture. I'm not sure why Americans love sports so much, but Americans use English and they love sports and they have a big sports media. They have huge sports teams. They have a big sports and universities. It's so competitive. It's the country of competition. Sometimes I think it's even more competitive than Korea in some ways, at least when it comes to sports. Americans love to play, they love to watch sports, they love to buy sports, and they mostly do it in the English language. So I want you to take a minute right now and think about, why are you here in this class? Well, you chose this major, right? And you have to take this class. However, think about it more deeply. Why did you choose this major? What's so important about this major for you? I'm curious. This is the time where I really would like to hear you guys' answers. However, I can't do it right now, but we're going to get to that in a moment. You are going to share your answers with me, and you're going to share your answer with other students, why you chose this major. And you're going to do it in English, right? So think about that. Why are you here? Okay. Again, this is Sports Management English or Sports Business English. There are 3 parts to this course. 3 parts. First, English conversation. We're going to learn to talk about everything. Every topic in our daily life. Every topic that's going to help you get better at English. So the first part of this is about English. Conversation, grammar, writing, idioms, speaking. It's all about how to speak English. Those of you who've taken my Global English class before or my 중국 회화 class, you already know that I'm all about talking. So that's the first part of this. Part of it is an English class. You're going to improve your confidence. You're going to get better at speaking. You're going to feel better about speaking, and you're not going to be scared. I know for Korean students, many of them, not all, but many of them know English pretty well, but they don't have confidence to speak it. I don't judge you. I'm not perfect at Korean. We all make mistakes. We don't need to care about that. We're going to improve our confidence, going to improve your competence. You're going to be better at speaking and make less mistakes. So that's going to help your confidence. So confidence, how good you are. Confidence, how good you feel, right? And we're going to share details about our lives. We're going to share details about our lives because this is the easiest thing to talk about when we're trying to study English, right? This is the easiest thing to talk about when we're trying to study English. So we're going to talk about some things that aren't sports related sometimes because I think that's easier to do on certain occasions. And we're going to discuss relevant topics about sports, right? Related to sports. I know you guys love sports, at least many of you do. I hope you do if you're taking sports business. So we're going to discuss things that are relevant to you as sports business majors, right? So that is the first part of this course, English conversation, English talking, getting better at English. The next part of this is the business culture. Again, you're not just sports majors, you're not English majors, you are sports management. So what do you want to do? We're going to learn about the culture of business abroad. As you know, South Korea is an export country, and so business is very important here. Sometimes you need to understand a little bit about the business culture abroad. How to present yourself as best as possible. Many of you have already told me in other classes that you are especially interested in working abroad, or at least training to work abroad. You need to present yourself as the best possible person for your job or internship. How do you do that? How do you do that? I'd really like to know that. And you need to know about the relationship between the manager and the employees and the customer, and how to communicate correctly and respectfully in that way. As you know, English and Korean are a little bit different, right? They're a little bit different. And the Korean is very good at showing respect. Okay, it's very direct about showing respect, I think. English also shows respect, but it may not be as obvious to you. It's a bit more subtle in the ways that we show respect. Whereas in Korean, it seems very obvious to me. It seems very obvious to me. So these are all important things. We're going to learn about business culture, how to make yourself the best possible candidate by understanding English language in the business environment. In the business environment. Okay? See all our people at our meetings, and the one guy here is bowing while the little Japanese guy next to him is trying to shake his hands. Sometimes it can be very confusing, the differences in business culture, right? That's like me when I go to Starbucks in Korea and I try to order in Korean language, and the barista in Starbucks answers me back in English. I feel so frustrated. That's just one small little interaction, but it can be very complicated and difficult for us. So how can we understand these things? And to learn about sports culture, right? Sports culture, you're all interested in the sports culture, right? We're going to learn about the vocabulary and expressions that you're going to need to use. You're going to need to use when finding a job, or just studying what you need to study, or when you're viewing a sports game in another language, right? What are the vocabulary and expressions that you have to use or that you need to know? And to learn the basics of sports institutions and figures. You know, I was not a sports major like yourself, but I do understand the basics of sports. I grew up with sports, watching sports, and even playing a bit of sports. You need to know the basics of sports institutions and figures, how to talk about them, how to understand them, how to communicate what you know about them. And to get some experience and familiarity with sports culture abroad in Korea. You know, the way that fans behave, the way that athletes behave, I think can be very, very different. I sometimes am very, very shocked and surprised with the way Korean fans and even Korean athletes will sometimes behave in public that would not be accepted in the United States or in Europe. And I think you probably feel the same way about some way that American athletes and fans behave as well. So there's no judgment, it's not right or wrong, but it's so we can understand that and how to deal with it. Right here I have the picture of our Mr. Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace. Unfortunately, he died just recently. He was a legend of basketball, one of the greats, unfortunately. But I put his quote up here because I think it's very powerful, especially we're going through this virus situation in Korea now. It says, we don't quit, we don't cower, right? We're not scared, we don't run, we endure, and we conquer, right? We conquer. So no matter what the challenges in this class, we don't run away, we don't quit, we don't give up, we don't go to sleep, we endure, we conquer, we shall win. The most important thing, don't give up. Ask questions. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Sometimes we both make mistakes. I'm here for you. Let's work together. Let's work together and we're going to be fine. If I give 100%, I expect you give 100%. I want to talk about my experience, my life too. I hope you share your experience in your life with me. Take it seriously, right? It's not a joke. At the beginning of the semester, it seems pretty easy, but everybody wants to get an A. If you want an A, take it seriously. This is your major. This is your life. This is your future. Some students don't care. That's fine. No judgment. We have many things going on in our life. But if you want the A, remember, take it seriously. Don't quit. Don't cower. Don't run. Endure. Conquer. We can do it. Don't bully others. We're a team. Don't pick on others. In this class, there's no wangta. We all have our strengths. We have our weaknesses. Let's work together. Okay, important, the class schedule and grading. You can download the class syllabus, 강의 계획서, from our e-portal. I'm the new professor at this. Right now I'm using Professor Chad Barkley's syllabus a little bit, but I have to say I'm going to change it because we can't do everything on the syllabus exactly as he did it because we're going to be doing mostly online classes. In Chad Professor and me, we have some different ways of looking at things. So please bear with me. Most things that are important, like your tests, are not going to change, okay? Those things are not going to change. They're going to be the same, but other things might change. I don't have a textbook for this class, so I'm preparing all of the material myself. So please think about that. Everything I make here is for you. I'm making it for you. I didn't buy a book. I'm not making you buy a book. So please be gentle, be kind about that. I'm trying my best. Okay, these things are probably not going to change. What I need from you is I need you to participate. What is participation? You need to talk to class, you need to come to class, you need to do the work, okay? It's hard for me to judge your participation because I'm not there with you right now, but I'm going to give you some little very short, easy assignments so that you can show me that you're participating. Okay, we'll talk about that later. You're going to have a midterm test. Part of it's going to be spoken, like an interview, a sports interview, and part of it's going to be written. I hope this is how we do it. If we have real classes, we're going to do the spoken. If we don't have any real classes, if we're only online this semester, it might be all written. It might be all written. So this can change. I'm sorry. There's nothing we could do right now. We don't know the future. But if we come back to class, it's going to be spoken 10%, written 5%. If we don't come back to class, if we have only online, then it's all going to be 15% written test. Okay? Okay, week 8, that's in week 8 is going to be your midterm. It's the week of April 20th. Depending on what day this class is, it can be any day that week. Okay, so the week of April 20th, that's your midterm test. You're going to have a final that's written 10% the week of June 8th. Your homework counts for 10%, so I don't give a lot of homework, but I do give some homework. Please do it. It is counted towards your grade 10%. And you're going to have a final presentation or interview. This is 15% of your grade. Again, if we don't have class in the Namseoul classroom, this will be changed to a written test online. But I don't know yet. Nobody knows the future yet. I want to do final presentation and an interview. I think it's much more useful. But again, if we don't come back to Namseoul, if this whole semester's online, there will be no presentations or spoken interviews. It will all be online. Got it? Okay. So I'm sorry we have to do that right now, but we just don't know yet. We just don't know yet. But we will know in the next 2 weeks, right? We will know. So just be patient. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mind. Don't worry about it. I'm here to answer all your questions, and I will tell you everything you need to know, I promise. If I don't, you send me an email or you come to see me at my office, okay? Okay. Remember, the big one here is participation is 50% of your grade. Coming to class, talking to other students, and so on. Again, we can't come to class yet, maybe in the future, but I'm going to be giving you little assignments that show me you're participating and listening to the lecture. And based on those assignments, I will assign your grade. This may change slightly, and they're going to be sort of some little homework assignments, but I'm going to count them different from the homework grade. Different from the homework grade, okay? Grading scale, grading scale. Okay, as you guys already know, 25% of the students are gonna get A's. 35% are going to get B's. And 40% of the students are gonna get C's, D's, and F's. So most students are gonna get A's and B's. Some students are going to give up and they don't want to try and they're going to get a C, probably not a D or an F unless they just don't come and do any of the work. Sometimes students are going to work hard and they're still going to get a C+. A few students in some classes, sometimes this happens. I'm sorry about it. I don't like it, but this is what we have to do. And they're trying to improve the academic honesty in Korea, which I think is a good thing. I always want to let you know about your grade, and if you're not doing well, I want you to do better. Some students don't care, but most students do. So please, if you have a question about your grade, if you have a question about the assignment, please let me know. Send an email. Don't ask the department. They don't know. Ask me, and I will try my best to help you. You know, I'm not a big person about changing grades because I think that the grade that you worked for is the grade that you deserve. So please think about that when you're doing your work. Is my work better than 75% of the class? If it is, I think that I deserve an A. If you think your work is not better than 75% of the class, ask yourself again, do I really deserve an A? Do I really deserve an A? And for most of you, this is not a big issue. Usually in every class, there's 2 or 3 students who stop coming or sit in the back and never talk. And these students will get a C often, more often than not. I'm going to try to make your test pretty challenging this time so we know who are the students who are studying very hard and who are not studying. Okay, well, enough about that dark stuff. We don't need to think about it too much. So I want to ask you guys, you are sports majors, what is your favorite sport? What is your favorite sport? Well, I'm big into individual sports like skateboarding and stuff. That's what I did when I was younger. I'm not too good anymore because I got old and my legs hurt. How about you? What's your favorite sport and why? What appeals to you about it? What appeals to you about your favorite sport? When did you first play the sport? Who introduced you to it? Who introduced you to this sport? Who taught you about this sport? Maybe you learned at school, you learned from your parents, you learned from your friends. How did you learn about it? And do you prefer watching sports or playing sports? It's the kind of thing that I want to talk about when I get to see you guys. Some students, they really do like sports, but they're just not that good at it. They don't have a talent for it. Some students just really love being active. They don't care what kind of sport they're playing. They just want to be active. They want to be out there, and these are my really healthy students. And what are the benefits of this sport, right? I thought like skateboarding really taught me to, to be by myself, to be alone and not care about other people. It taught me to not be afraid of getting hurt. It taught me, we say, in English, you're not made of glass, right? If you fall, you're just going to get back up again. That's why I would recommend this kind of sport to other people. You really have to be on your own, and this teaches you how to be an individual and, to be a leader as well in a way. So why would you recommend it? Why are the benefits and why would you recommend this sport to other people? I want you to think about this when you do your homework. I'm going to get to your homework assignment towards the end of this PowerPoint or this video. I'm not sure how you're watching it, on a video or on a PowerPoint or on a YouTube link. However, we'll talk about it in a minute, a few minutes, about 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is introductions, right? So I told you this class has 3 sections. One's about English, one's about sports culture, and one is about business, right? The business culture and how to communicate in business. So we're going to talk about the basic rules and concepts of introductions, introducing yourself to others, conversations and listening. We're going to do a little bit of practice with that and a checkpoint that you've understood what you're doing and what we've done. Okay. So let's talk about introductions in this lesson. Introductions are so very, very important in every part of life, in every country, Korea, America, Japan, Europe. It's always important to know the correct and polite way to introduce yourself. So the basic rules of English greetings in business, they're kind of the same as informal sometimes. And American business culture can be a little bit more informal than Korean business culture, but there are still some rules that can be very important. So greetings establish relationships between coworkers and others. They show, what is your relationship with this person? All relationships begin with greetings. Even when we don't know this person, we don't know our relationship with them yet. We don't know if they're higher than us, lower than us, or equal to us. They still begin with a greeting. Remember, these greetings make first impressions, and they have a positive effect on you, and vice versa. They have a positive effect on others. And remember, as you guys know, first impressions can't be undone. If you give a poor greeting, people are gonna remember that. If you don't wear a suit to your interview, people are going to remember that as well. So they can't be undone. You only have one chance to make a first impression. So be careful, remember these guidelines. And they help us make decisions about trust. We want to hire people for our company who we can trust. Can I trust you? Can you trust me? Well, it depends if you understand how our relationship works. So they help us make decisions about trust, whether we can trust somebody, whether we can trust somebody with our money, with this job, with our company. So it's important to know these relationship rules. Even after you know someone, greetings can be important because they establish that you're a polite person and that you're friendly. You want to greet the person who you know, who you care about, who you work with, because you want them to always know that you feel polite and friendly. They can ask you anything, and you are there for them to fulfill your duties at your job. And without greetings, I think the office or business or classroom will feel kind of stiff, like not friendly, right? This is kind of like a not friendly work environment. Nobody greets each other. Nobody says hi to each other. So we need to know them. And I think in some ways it can be even more important in Western business culture than it is in Korean business culture sometimes. Think about like your relationships is like the engine in a car. And the greetings are like a motor oil that make the machine work smoothly and correctly. If you don't change your oil all the time, the machine is not going to work smoothly and correctly. The relationship is not going to work smoothly, and there's going to be trouble in the office. It's not going to be a fun office to work in. And I think even with sports, it's even more important and it's even more complicated. So you want to try to leave a good impression on others with your greetings, even if you're never going to see them again, right? You still want to give them a good impression so that someday if you do, they're going to say good things about you. They're going to say good things about your company. They're going to hire you. They're going to give you a good assessment because they remember you left a good impression on them. Okay. So some common business situations. Many types of businesses and sports situations where you might meet new people. Sometimes you might meet a stranger on occasion. This is a person who you don't know very well. It's the first time that you met them, but it's still important. Make a good impression with them. Or you have exchanged emails with someone before meeting them face to face. So this is one kind of stranger. You talk to them by email all the time. You know, they're working with your company, but you've never seen them yet. And this is so common these days, right? This is so common. And another way is you get to know a stranger attending the same meeting or event as you. So you go to some conference on sports marketing in Korea, and you meet a stranger there, and you have to introduce yourself to them. You have to introduce other people who you know to them. So these are one kind of common business situation, meeting a stranger on a special occasion. There's another one where you're introduced to a senior on some occasion. So it's not exactly a stranger, but this is a different kind of thing because there's a power dynamic here. Just like in Korea, the power dynamic, someone's older than you or someone is your senior, you have a special greeting, right? 안녕하십니까? 안녕하세요. Whereas your friend, your equals, you might just say 안녕 too, right? So in English, we also have this. It's not as straightforward as Korean, but we do have it. So like when you join a new company or a new team and you meet the executives, you meet the coaches, these people are higher than you. You want to make a good impression by using proper English with them, the proper English greeting for your senior. Okay. Another way is when you're introduced to seniors at another company or a team. You might be visiting another company at some point to do a deal or learn something or do some training, and you have to meet seniors at another company, and the same rules apply. You need to speak respectfully to these people, use the correct language. You might be introduced to a new person who's joining your company and you don't know their status. You also want to be polite and respectful. You don't know if they're the same level as you or if they're higher than you. So you need to be able to speak respectfully to these people as well. Many different kinds of situations. Or you're introduced to someone in another company who is of the same status as you. Again, you can be a little bit more friendly in this type of situation. I think similar to Korea in this way, but maybe a little bit more informal. But it depends on the company, it depends on the country, it depends on the culture. Okay, so these are some of the business situations that we're going to try to get familiar with in this class. So first we're going to do some practice with this, okay? We're going to do some practice with this. So introducing yourself at a business meeting. So imagine the situation. We got some characters here. We're going to do first Lisa. Lisa is attending a business meeting for sports team managers in the Asia Football Association in Singapore. Big center of business, big center of commerce, head of the ASEAN country's wealthiest economy. Lots of things happen there. The program offers management classes for 35 junior and senior managers of 7 different nationalities: Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Malaysian, Mongolian, Singaporean, and Thai. And there's some Americans and British floating around in there as well, because they're very interested about the sports culture of Asia. So you may be meeting some Americans and British there as well as some other Asian nationalities. So your task is to listen to the following conversation and fill in the blanks. Okay, fill in the blanks. So I want you to get a piece of paper right now. Take a minute. Go get a piece of paper. Get a pencil. You should have a pencil or paper or your iPad or a Samsung Pad or your laptop, notebook, something that you can take notes. I hope you're not just listening and putting it in your memory. Okay, you got it? You got your pencil? Okay, good. Are you ready? Yeah? Okay. Here's your tip. Always greet as soon as you hear the other person's name, okay? Don't wait. Listening 1. Introducing yourself to another person. Lisa. Hello. I don't believe we've met before. I'm Lisa Park from Ottawa, Canada. Joyce. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Joyce Wang. But you can call me Joyce. I'm from Beijing. Lisa. Pleased to meet you too, Joyce. Did you get that all? Okay, one more time. Lisa. Hello. I don't believe we met before. I'm Lisa Park from Ottawa, Canada. Joyce. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Joyce Wang. But you can call me Joyce. I'm from Beijing. Lisa. Pleased to meet you too, Joyce. Okay, so we have here, Joyce says, pleasure to meet you. Pleasure, P-L-E-A-S-U-R-E. Pleasure to meet you and pleased to meet you is something like happy to meet you, good to meet you. It's a common way to address people in a greeting. It shows that you're interested in them and establishes you have a good mood and a friendly attitude. Okay. So I hope you wrote all of those down. I'm leaving the screen up here for a minute. So if you didn't write them all down, you can get them pretty soon. So I'm going to want you to give these to me in the first class. Hopefully we start class in a few weeks. And I want you to give this to me for your participation score. Okay, on a nice piece of paper. You can type it or you can write it, whatever you want. But I just want to show that you're paying attention, and these are going to be on the midterm test as well. These are going to be on the midterm test as well. Okay, so please, are you ready? Okay, the next one. Activity 2. So we're going to be talking peer to senior. So normal person, you to senior. Lisa, who's an assistant manager of accounting at Nike Korea, is introducing Lisa Wang, another assistant manager, to the CEO of Nike Korea during her coffee break at the conference. Your task, your job, is fill in the blanks regarding Lisa introducing her peer to her boss. Tip: always pay respect to the senior before the introduction. Just like Korea, we need to show respect to our seniors in the introduction. Okay, listening exercise 2, fill in the blanks. Are you ready? Lisa. Sir, can I introduce an American HR representative I met in my class to you? Mr. Lee. Sure, my pleasure. Lisa. Mr. Lee, this is Paul Miller, an accountant from the NBA marketing team in Los Angeles, California. Mr. Lee, pleased to meet you. Paul, I'm Mr. Johnson. Paul, please, just call me Paul, Mr. Lee. It's nice to meet you too. Okay, one more time. One more time. Sometimes I don't have my script here, so I may make some mistake and say it wrong one of the times, a little bit different. As long as you write down something that I said that makes sense, you're okay. 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 Again, Lisa, sir, can I introduce an American HR representative I met in my class to you? Mr. Lee, sure, my pleasure. Lisa, Mr. Lee, this is Paul Miller, an accountant from the NBA marketing team in Los Angeles, California. Mr. Lee, nice to meet you, Mr. Johnson. Paul, please. You can call me Paul, Mr. Lee. It's nice to meet you too. So we say here, Paul is establishing that Mr. Lee is his senior. He says, you can call me Paul. You can call me by my first name. But Paul still calls him Mr. Lee because Mr. Lee is his senior, right? He's a CEO. So he wants to show respect to the CEO, same like in Korea. All right. Take a minute. If you didn't get this all, write it down. You can rewind it. You can listen again. Again, it's not important it's exactly correct, just so that it makes sense and that you understand about how they show respect to each other. Got it? Okay. Okay, so listening activity 2, introducing two peers to each other. So these are people who are generally of the same status. They're not seniors. But you're introducing one of them to a third person. So now Lisa introduces Paul and Joyce to each other. Your task is to listen to the following conversation and fill in the blanks. Tips: when introducing two people to each other, make sure that you know how to pronounce their names. This can be tough, right? This can be very tough. I know from living in Korea, I'm pretty good at speaking Korean or at least pronouncing Korean, so I can do it now. But you know that when you see a new name, especially when you see a new song, a new family name, it can be difficult to remember how to pronounce it. So please, if you don't know how to pronounce it, you're not sure, it's polite to ask somebody how to pronounce their name, and they can tell you so you don't make a mistake. And, some people can be sensitive about names, right? And don't forget to check if two people have met before you introduce them. So you might say, have you met blah, 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 blah? Oh, no, I haven't. Okay, well, let me introduce them. Okay, I think this one's a little bit easier than the other one. This one's a little bit easier than the other one. Okay, here we go. So listening activity 3, introducing two peers. Lisa will say, have you ever met? Paul, I don't think we have. Joyce, we haven't been properly introduced. Lisa, then let me introduce you. Lisa, Joyce, this is Paul Johnson from Los Angeles, California. Lisa, Paul, this is Lisa Park from Ottawa, Canada. Joyce and Paul say together, nice to meet you. Again, repeat. Lisa, have we ever met? Paul, I don't think we have. Joyce, we haven't been properly introduced. Lisa, then let me introduce you. Lisa, Joyce, this is Paul Johnson from Los Angeles, California. Lisa, Paul, this is Lisa Park from Ottawa, Canada. Joyce and Paul, nice to meet you. So when we say properly introduced, it means maybe we saw each other, we talked for a moment, but we haven't been introduced. I don't really know this person, okay? I don't really know this person. So that's what we mean by properly introduced. That's what we mean by properly introduced, okay? Okay, so homework again. I want you to please hand in these scripts completed on our first day of class. It doesn't have to be perfect, but these are going to count as participation scores. Remember, participation grade is worth 50% of your final grade. Okay, this is whether you're doing assignments in class, talking in class, doing the things that I ask you to do in class. So please write these up on a nice piece of paper and write your name on it and your student number and give it to me next time that we finally see each other. If we don't see each other and if we have only online classes, then I will get back to you and we will maybe submit them online. I promise we'll find a way to do it. We need to just show that you're listening, that you're going through the PowerPoint, because it's very important for your major. They want us to do these activities, okay? I know it's not always very fun. It's not how I like to do class. You know my students who had me before, I like to talk and I like to play games and do activities, but it's a little bit hard at this point. So please understand, guys. Remember that these exercises, they'll be part of the midterm test in April. They're going to be part of the midterm test in April, okay? So I'm not just doing them for nothing. You will have to do them on the test. Okay, so we are not quite finished yet, but we are almost finished, right? We are almost finished. Are you ready? Okay, we're going to talk about sports vocabulary because one of the things that we said we were going to talk about, we said we're going to talk about using English, we're going to talk about business, and we're going to talk about sports culture. So many Korean sports words actually come from English, as you already know. However, sometimes they're used a little bit differently. So how differently? Well, let's see. It's the third aspect of the course, getting familiar with sports culture and sports nomenclature. Nomenclature is a word that means like vocabulary or the technical words. Technical words. This vocabulary also is going to be on the midterm test, as well as if we have any class quizzes or assignments that count for your participation grade, they're going to be on there so that you remember these things, right? You remember these things. Okay, so the first one here is court. Court. I think you guys already know this, but I know that like in Korean, you guys will use the word jang, right, for these kind of things. So you'll say like 당구장, that's like pool hall in English, and tennis장, right? 야구장. It's all jang, like field, right? But in English, we use some different words for these. So, for instance, tennis장 in basketballjang in English is a court. So basketball court and tennis court. Again, it's kind of easy, but I hear people making mistakes with these things sometimes. How about any of you? I see some of you out there playing tennis. It's a good, healthy sport to keep your lungs in good shape. Fight the coronavirus, right? If your lungs are in good condition, then you're going to be able to fight the virus better and be healthy. Same with basketball. I know we have a lot of good basketball players in this campus. Oh, I don't know why basketball is not too popular in Korea, but I meet a lot of students who play it. We also have some exchange students here from Mongolia who are like really good at basketball. because for Mongolians, basketball is like their national sport. Aside from archery, they're really good at basketball. In fact, we have one student here who is, I think he was on the Mongolian Championship University basketball team. So they like to do it. They like to do it. Okay, so court. Next one, so this is different. In American English, this is a baseball field or a soccer field, football field. In English, we say field. In British English, if you guys, I know some of you are watching Premier League, right? Who's your team? Manchester, Chelsea. It's called a pitch. And in fact, although British don't play baseball, people from England don't really play baseball. I heard them call it a baseball pitch. I'm not sure why they use this word pitch or what it means, but in American English, we're always going to call these things a field, whether it's a soccer field. Of course, you know in American English we say soccer, although it's originally a British word, and in British English they will say football pitch, right? Football pitch. So again, these are some subtle differences. I think most British will understand American English. Sometimes Americans won't understand British English because, as you know, American sports media is very, very powerful and people are very familiar with it. Right? People are very, very familiar with it. So pitch or field. And again, I think these are both called jang in Korean, right? You guys can send me a message about that. I think that's right. Okay, and rink. Rink. So for hockey or ice skating, we call these things a rink. A rink. Ice rink. In the second photo here, you guys can see this one is called this is like a hockey field, actually. It's a hockey field, but we don't really play that too much in America, but in British English, of course, they would also call that a hockey pitch, not a hockey field. Okay. We used to play it in high school and middle school, though, in school physical education class. Okay, a track. A track, it's a racetrack. I don't know if you guys recognize this, but this is actually the track at Osan High School in the U.S. Army base. Very American style track. I mean, did you guys run track in high school? Sports are very important in American high schools a lot. When I was high school, I ran track, the 400 meters and the long jump. This is called a track, as in the sport track and field. Track and field. So again, track. Okay, for race cars, for Formula One and motorcycle racing, in British English, they'll probably call this a circuit, right? Because it's a circle, it goes in a circle, and therefore it's called a circuit. In American English, we might call it a circuit, but we might also call it a racetrack or just a track. The car skidded off the track. A little bit different. I think we're both going to understand these. American and British can understand each other pretty well at this. Also for horses, in horse racing, we call it a racetrack as well. Racetrack as well. I think it's not too popular in Korea, is it? Although Korea's hosted a couple of Formula One races in the past. I kind of like it, but it's really loud and it gives me a headache when I go. Maybe you too. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about some verbs. Okay, so you know in Korean, use a different verb like 놀자 or 단다, 한다 to describe about doing a sport. However, in English, we have specific verbs also with different sports. So play is a verb that's generally used with team sports. In sports, you need a ball or a similar object like a puck for hockey or a disc or a shuttlecock in badminton. And also for those activities in which two people or teams compete together against each other, we usually say we play. So we play basketball, not do basketball. We play baseball, not do. Play golf, play tennis. We play soccer or football. We play chess, the board game. We play hockey, and we play volleyball. We might say we have a match, but for the sport itself, we play it. We play it, okay? So this is a kind of important thing, and I hear students making mistakes on this a lot. So I wanted to be very, very clear about how we use this, how we use these in English, because it's easy to make this mistake. Remember again, play is used with team sports or with a ball or where two people go against each other. Some kind of game or activity is something that we play, something that we play. On the other hand, there are some sports that we use the verb go with. What's the sport in this picture? Right, bowling. In the bowlingjang, in English we say bowling alley. Bowling alley. So for go is used with activities and sports that end in an ing. So the verb go here implies that you go somewhere, like to a special place to practice this sport. So swimming, you go to the swimming pool, so we go swimming. For hiking, you go to the mountain or you go to the forest, so you go hiking. For bowling, you go to the bowling alley, therefore you go bowling. Fishing, you go to the lake. Skiing, you go to the slope, you go to the mountain and you go skiing. For jogging, you go to the track or you go to the trail. The same thing for running or for cycling. You always are going somewhere to do it. Therefore, in English, think about it like this. We use the word go for these ones. Also, it can be a little bit hard. It's one of the most popular questions that students will usually ask me when we're writing about sports or hobbies or activities is which verb do we use? It can be a bit complicated. So please remember these. This is a perfect kind of question that I might ask on the test. Take a minute. Don't forget. Write these down. Write these down. If it's not enough time, of course, just pause it and come back to it. Okay. Okay, and there's another one for to do. Okay, do is used with recreational or fun activities and with individual non-team sports or sports in which a ball isn't used, like martial arts, like karate and so on, or for certain games like a crossword puzzle. Okay, so we do karate, we do judo or yudo as you say, we do kung fu, do aerobics, do ballet, do yoga. I don't know if anybody does yoga, but I want to recommend, even for men, it's very good for your body and for your mind. And we do gymnastics. So these are all sports or that are kind of individual. We don't use a ball. We don't really compete necessarily in this kind of sport. Okay, so we're going to use the verb do with these ones. Take a minute, maybe write those down, take some notes. Okay, and there are some exceptions to the rule. So exceptions is sometimes we have to break the rule. So you use do with two activities that end in ing, like we do boxing or we do bodybuilding. Sometimes we say that because they don't imply moving along as other activities ending in ing. They don't really imply like going somewhere to do something. Golf is an idea of a competition. You use the verb play. However, you can say to go golfing if you do it for pleasure. Like if you do it for fun, you go golfing. If you're doing it in a competition, you play golf. Tiger Woods plays golf. We'll go golfing on the weekend or at the weekend. So there are some exceptions to the rule. We can use these a little bit differently depending on the exact situation. Okay. Okay, so big news here is that we have to do a little bit of homework. I hope you have 2 weeks to do this. Hopefully we're going to have class and you can print and give this to me. I'm going to put a link to a profile document that looks like this. a profile document that looks like this. You're going to fill it out with lots of information about yourself, your hobbies, your favorite sports, your goals, and who you are. Who you are. And you're going to put all kinds of information on there about yourself and paste a nice, pretty picture of yourself here. I can't really draw with a keyboard, but you get the picture. So I want you guys to fill it all out, lots of information, so that I can get to know you and so that I can give you guys some kind of homework grade or participation grade for being here. So it's going to be on the first day of real class, okay? In 2 weeks, hopefully we have real class. If we don't have real class, we'll find a way. You'll have to upload it to the e-class. But for now, I want you to include a photo and print the profile and imagine when you're going to give it to me. I hope we're going to have class and you're going to be able to give it to me. It's going to count as a homework grade, not a participation grade. It's going to count as a homework grade. And this is so that I can get to know you and who you are. My students who I had before, you know how to do this. If you have your old profile, you can print it out and give it to me again. It doesn't matter, just so I can keep everything organized in our class and know who you are and know about you and our common interests, okay? So please print this out, fill it out, put a picture, and give it to me when we finally meet, okay? Okay. Download the form on the eClass materials page. Hopefully it should be there. If you have a problem, send me an email and I'll find a way to give it to you, okay? Okay. Okay, so it's time to wrap it up. Thank you for spending this, wow, hour and 15 minutes with me. I know it's tough, guys. I know you don't like to do it. It's hard. So good work. Things to remember. Things to remember. Well, most important thing we have to remember here is remember the vocabulary for our midterm test. We talked about different vocabulary for sports expressions. Finish the listening dialogues and bring them to class the next time about Lisa Park and Joyce and Paul Johnson. You filled those out. If you need more time, go back in the PowerPoint and listen to them again. Please bring it to our first class. If we don't have class, you'll upload it. But for now, just imagine you're going to bring it to class to me in 2 weeks, and it's going to count as your participation grade. Okay? Download the syllabus, Gangige Hokso, and read it. Remember, this is Chad's old syllabus. I changed it a little bit, and we're going to be very different because we're online. So some things can change. Remember that. If it changes, I will tell you. I will tell you. We're in a very strange situation with the coronavirus this time. So please be understanding. I will always tell you about the changes, and it will not change too much, okay? And download the profile document. There should be a link in the e-class. Fill it out and print it with a photo. This is due on our first real class. So hopefully it's due in 2 weeks. If we don't have class, then you're going to upload it, and I'll tell you about that in 2 weeks. Hopefully we're going to have class. I hope, but I'm not sure yet. Okie dokie. So please, one more important thing, keep yourself healthy. Eat fruits and vegetables. Drink water. Sleep 8 hours and wash your hands, please. I want you to stay happy and healthy so I can see you in 2 weeks or I can see you later in the semester. So don't forget to do it. We're going to get through this, guys. Everybody, fighting. Have any emails, any questions, send it to my email, George, Jorge, Namseoul, Namseoul, at gmail.com. It's really nice to talk to you guys. I hope I can see you soon. I hope you send me a message. sports business, best major at Namseoul. I miss you guys. See you in 2 weeks. Take care. Fighting!